Good morning. You're listening to WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina, 103.7 on the dial. This is the BLAINESWORLD show, heard each Wednesday at 9 a.m., and you can also watch us on WPVM's Facebook page. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield. I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week we focus on the Asheville theater scene, as well as on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my first guest, and she is Reverend Faerie Elaine Silver. Welcome aboard, Reverend Silver.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and you
Nice
can also,
to see
by the way,
you.
likewise, and you can also wave to all your friends in Facebook world. So if you're watching, you're getting kisses. And I should mention that Reverend Faerie, and we'll talk about that name in a second, but Reverend Faerie Elaine Silver is a seasoned performer, songwriter, touring musician, and recording artist, 22 CDs and counting, with a music ministry. For many years, she has combined her beautiful voice and lively spirit with truth teachings to present healing concepts, workshops, music-inspired messages. She is a licensed science of mind practitioner and an ordained divinity priestess, is that right? As well as, I love this, an award-performing musician and certified beatologist. We'll talk about that
Correct.
in a second. A beatologist. Elaine has the honor of working in conjunction with many world-renowned spiritual leaders, teachers, and authors, including, very exciting, Deepak Chopra, Neil Donald Walsh, Don Miguel Ruiz, Barbara G. Walker, Marianne Williamson, Alan Cohen, you name it, and Wayne Dyer, one of my favorites. Let me ask you this question, Elaine. You grew up where?
Northern New Jersey.
Okay. And when you grew up in northern New Jersey, where specifically in northern New Jersey?
Well, I grew up in Whippany. Then when I was 15, we moved to Montville, which was near Boonton and Parsippany. And then I lived in Morristown. I lived in Stanhope. I lived in Andover Township. I lived in Denville. I lived in Parsippany. I lived in Caldwell. I live around, you know.
And when you, and when
Where
you
do you live? Around.
Well, when you were living in North Jersey, did you always know you wanted to be this music type person and doing all these other things? When did you decide to get into it? What brought you into it? Like
When I was in high school.
Music? Was that the first time you got into music?
High school, yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing it in high school, and I was so focused on it because I got a lot of good. I got agreement about that I had talent, and in the choirs I got solos, and I started to play the guitar, and then I was just really, really hyper focused on it. And then when it was time to go to college, of course, I went to music college, and I did that for 2 semesters. I went to Montclair State College. Now it's university. And when I auditioned, they needed a voice teacher, so they hired mine because they liked my singing. But after 2 semesters, I dropped out because I didn't want to teach and I didn't want to sing opera. I was a performance major. I didn't want to do classical. And so I traveled. I got into a band for a while. And then I went to William Patterson for 2 semesters as a jazz vocal performance major. And I learned so much. I learned how to write a chart, work with a rhythm section. I learned a lot about traditional jazz music. It was really good, but I started getting too many gigs, so I had to drop out. And they should give me the degree because it's what I've been doing since the 70s, since the late 70s.
But what also amazes me about you is the fact that not only do you perform, but you also write, I guess, a lot of your stuff, if not all of it.
I do, yeah, I do.
How did you get into that?
Into writing?
Yeah, when did you start writing music?
Oh, you know, I wanted to be a songwriter when I was young, when I was first starting, and I used to think, oh, I can't write. Oh. And then I started traveling, and then I realized that, well, I couldn't write because I had nothing to say. And then I started getting adventures and experiences, and I had things to talk about. And I got involved in a lot of self-help things. It's where I met your wife, Cynthia, in Est.
Right.
So I did that in 1976. So that's a philosophy, you know, it's a way of being and a way of looking at who am I, you know, peel away the layers. And I got into that and spirituality and I'm not a big performer of songs about too many songs about relationship. Oh, you make me feel like that. It's more about experiences and or about spirit or about things that are to me real. Not I say I don't do victim songs. I don't do not typically. I mean, I could, but not typically.
Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Yeah, hanging around the park and it's dark, something like that in high school.
Okay, so
I can't play it. I don't remember it.
oh, that's funny. So
Wasn't
that's
good.
that's not on one of your CDs, is that correct? You don't even have that
That's
somewhere?
correct.
Okay, we should revisit that sometime.
Yes, we have no bananas. Right.
Okay, so talk a little bit. Then you said, and you before we began the show, you were playing a little bit of one song, which I think ties in, Elaine, especially for what's happened over the last year or 2 years. We got hit with COVID. You're performing gigs, I guess. You weren't doing as many performing gigs. What did you do during the last couple of years then?
Okay, so the last time I had a gig before COVID was March 15th, 2020. That was the last time I was filled in for a minister at a little Unity church in Florida. And, I also have merchandise. So I had my store. And so a lot of times my merchandise makes me more money than my performance fee. So it's really necessary. And so then COVID hit and it was like, oh, what am I going to do now? And, but one of the really wonderful things is that because the churches and the spiritual centers needed to survive, they got right on the bandwagon with the Zoom and the YouTube and the StreamYard and Facebook Live. And so I worked quite a bit. I mean, I didn't make as much money, but then I made my house into an Airbnb and I didn't have to go anywhere. And I was going to the YMCA and doing Pilates. And they closed. And so my husband, we got my bicycle out of the shed and I had only ridden a bike. I used to take it with me on the road,
Right.
but I had only ridden the bike about 5 times in the last 20 years. So we got the bike together. I got on that bike and I would ride the bike every morning, pretty much every morning for an hour. So I'm alone and I'm just like riding my bike, no mask because I'm outside. And we have a beautiful park here in Sarasota, Arlington Park. And I'm saying, good morning, good morning. Oh, what a cute dog. Oh, and I'm being heard, I'm being seen. So I never felt isolated. And then I had a lot of Zoom things happening. I have a community that we meet every Tuesday morning for an hour. There's different women I lived in the East Coast of Florida for 4 years for my husband James's job. So I have like different tribes around and it just enhanced my life because I wasn't spending so much of it sitting in a car driving and listening to books on CD. Well, what am I going to do now? Nothing. Oh, okay. I'll take a nap. Oh, I'll clean the toilet. I'll do it. I mean, I'll go do that. And then my house became my job because I was having Airbnb. And I have a few things that I do for as an entrepreneur. You have to have multiple streams of income.
I was going to say that it seems there aren't too many things you don't do, which is pretty cool.
I don't do windows.
Oh. You get somebody else, you get another entrepreneur to do windows.
I do.
But it's funny you said that because you were talking about riding your bike. And I had a similar experience with I used to go to a gym, and so I have to go see my trainer. But now I do my training sessions via Zoom. So it's really cool. I don't have to get in the car. I just love it. Even today, I thank you for being available. I do the show now. I don't have to drag you into the studio, which you couldn't come into Asheville, but I can speak to anybody around the world, which is really cool.
It's so great, isn't it?
Did you so when you were on your Zoom break, we'll call it, did you get to write more songs then?
Yeah, because I had all that time alone and I'm riding the bike and here's another thing that happened. The Unity Church here in or Unity Center of Sarasota, they were still having their services and their Wednesday night gatherings, music and inspiration, but they only allowed a few people in. Right. So they hired me to come in. Sometimes I was there every Wednesday, or usually at least 2 Wednesdays a month. And there's this magazine called The Daily Word, and so every Wednesday, whatever the word was for that day, the whole service was around that word and the meditation. And I do 5 songs. So a lot of times I would just get inspired and write a song for that. So that's why I wanted to do some of the songs. I could do one now.
If you
Would
would
that
please,
work?
and talk about
Yeah.
the one we would talk about off the air. I really liked on gratitude, I think, or ties into
Yeah, that's what,
gratitude.
well, what happened was one, Reverend Sandy, a friend of mine that was part of my East Coast tribe, got on, and she's a science of mind minister, and she just says, well, gratitude invokes the law of increase. You know, it's the law of attraction. Um, and really anything that we focus on gets bigger, whether we like it or not. So to focus on gratitude and having the law of attraction or the law of increase make more of it is just so powerful. So I wrote that down because I had never heard it said gratitude invokes the law of increase. So I wrote that down, and then that day or the next day, or it was time to do the unity, get my unity stuff together, and the daily word was enthusiasm. So I wrote this song called Lifted and Feeling Free, and it's all about enthusiasm. And it's kind of like a little country song. It's going to have fiddle on it if I ever record it. Gratitude invokes the law of increase. Gratitude brings me inner peace. I'm knowing this truth enthusiastically. I'm lifted and I'm feeling free. Joy invokes the law of increase. Focus on the good, intend, and then release. I am lifted and I'm feeling free. I'm loving my life enthusiastically. Love invokes the law of increase. Loving myself brings me inner peace. I'm knowing this truth enthusiastically. I'm lifted and I'm feeling free. This is the fiddle part. Kindness invokes the law of increase. Do unto others is a sacred peace. I'm knowing this truth enthusiastically. I'm lifted and I'm feeling free. Willingness invokes the law of increase. Focus on the good, intend, and then release. I am lifted and I'm feeling free. I'm living my life enthusiastically. Gratitude invokes the law of increase. Gratitude brings me inner peace. I'm knowing this truth enthusiastically. I'm lifted and I'm feeling free. I'm knowing this truth enthusiastically. I'm lifted and I'm feeling free. I'm lifted and I'm feeling free. Everybody sing. Lifted and I'm feeling free. Lifted and this is your affirmation. I'm lifted and I'm feeling free. I'm lifted and I'm feeling free. And so it is.
People who are watching the show or listening to it catch a break in that when you're singing, they can't hear me sing, so that's good. We didn't want to ruin it for them. I love that song. Wow, is that fantastic? So that song, though, hasn't been officially recorded yet?
Well, it's not out.
Yeah,
That's what you mean.
so
It hasn't been released. Not yet. No.
How many songs have you written, ballpark?
200? I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, do you know all 200 or?
No.
Like you write?
I mean,
yeah.
What do I have to do? You know, I'm getting up there in age. So now I always bring a music stand and I bring my words because it's a challenge to have to remember everything. There's so many of them.
Imagine.
Yeah, I used to think, oh, I would judge people if they had the words in front of them.
Right.
So, you know, what you push against makes bigger. So I created it in myself.
Well, but you know, it's funny you say that, Elaine, because a lot of performers now I see, and I don't notice it at all anymore, they just have a little stand and they have a little iPad. And
Right.
I saw a concert the other night, and it looked like, you know, you couldn't tell she was reading it, but she was, you know, and it's not a problem. But that's really interesting. Yeah, it'd be hard to remember 200 songs, huh?
Yeah, plus all the other ones I do that I didn't write,
Yeah.
which aren't that many, but there's still a lot. I know a lot of songs.
Talk to me about the process because I'm fascinated by it. that
I got a song for that, but yes, okay, we'll do
come
that.
back to that fascinating or what
Yeah.
song?
No, the
But
process. Okay.
right,
I mean, it always pretty much always has to do with what I'm going through at
right,
the moment, what these words that come up. And so I'm on my bike, and I'm also really into looking at the always look at the bright side of life. I'm into
yeah,
that.
and a little Monty
So
Python, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm on my bike, and we have a levee in Sarasota, and there's not usually very many people there. Walking around, occasionally somebody will be walking their dog, but as I'm coming up to ride on the levee, and I see some people walking towards me, and I don't know, I picked up a really weird vibe, and I was kind of shocked that I had this thought. But my thought was, well, if they mug me, they'll get my cell phone in about $20. I mean, and then I'm going, I thought that, we call this race consciousness, which is we're born into certain things, it's part of society. It means human race. Everybody
right, right.
has this, just, oh, well, my grandfather had this disease, so that means I'm probably prone to it. Every moment is a new moment. We say in science of mind, principle is not bound by precedent. Just because it always happened, it doesn't mean it's going to happen again. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, I can't believe cancel, and so then I'm riding my bike, and I get close to, and it's a couple, and the woman was walking a few steps behind the man, and I believe that they were probably arguing, and I might have picked up the negativity. And so, of course, as I ride the bike past them, I said, good morning. And it was as if I wasn't even there. And so then, me, my Jersey girl thing. So I said, what am I, invisible? I mean, I don't know if they heard me or not. I don't care. But what am I, invisible? And then right from there, I started to write this one.
I love it. Go ahead.
It's called An Invisible Woman. I'm an invisible woman. I'm an invisible woman. I'm an invisible woman. And I got superpowers. I'm an invisible woman. I'm an invisible woman. I'm an invisible woman. And I got superpowers. My power is my consciousness. My power is my happiness. My power is my gratefulness. My power is my gracefulness. My power is my mindfulness. My power is my joyfulness. My power is my peacefulness, flowing in and out of bliss. I share and the grace I show brings me to that sacred flow. I know how to shift and grow, and I'm an empowered woman. Life is full of challenges, and life is a game that can be played, turning lemons to lemonade, and I'm an empowered woman. Power is at our command. My power is my consciousness. My power is my happiness. My power is my gracefulness. My power is my gratefulness. My power is my mindfulness. My power is my joyfulness. My power is my peacefulness, flowing in and out of bliss. I'm an invisible woman. I'm an invisible woman. I'm an invisible woman. I got superpowers, blessed with superpowers. I got superpowers.
Very nice. Wow. Good stuff. So how'd you come up with the idea for that one again?
Because these people like acted like I didn't even wasn't
gotcha.
even there when I said good morning. So I said that, and so it wasn't the nicest thing for me to say, but so what? It's like I turned it into, that was a lemon that I got, and I turned it into lemonade.
How long does it take you to write a song?
It could take 10 minutes, it could take 10 years. It doesn't usually take that short or that long, but it could, I could keep tweaking.
When you write, do you sit down, like some writers will write every morning for an hour or 2 hours? Do you have a set agenda?
No, but I wake up at 3 and 4 in the morning and get up, and then I'll do, lately, I'll just kind of, sometimes I go out. I've been doing these haiku things. I caught the haiku bug. I have a friend, her name is Guru Nam, and she's part of my East Coast Florida tribe. And so I see her every week on our Zoom call, and she started getting into haiku, and then I caught it, and I'm like, how it's a form of poetry,
right,
from Japan. It doesn't necessarily rhyme. In fact, it typically doesn't rhyme, but the first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7 syllables, and the third line has 5 syllables. So somebody will say something like, oh, good is happening. 5, oh, as I breathe in right now. 7, oh, I am breathing free. So that's one that I wrote. So I'll just read a couple.
Just curious, by the way, before you read a couple, have you put any of those to music?
Well, I have a song called Haiku Poetry. I want to do that next.
Okay, if you read a couple, you said you want to read a couple, then
yeah, I have a couple. So this I was walking, and I got my iPhone, and I just start talking into it or typing it in. So I was walking, and I stopped to let this man go out of the driveway, and he opened his window, and he said, "Thank you, blowing a kiss. I like blowing kisses." So then I wrote, I blow kisses to strangers, and it makes their day, spreading happiness. Then here's one I wrote a couple of times after. I do not respond well to when I'm told what to do. Mind your own business.
And by the way, and that's me too. I haven't remembered. That is a great one. I love it.
I could picture that. Okay, so then in the early 80s,
right,
I had been on the road doing colleges, and I was burnt out after 3 years of just constantly driving. And so then I got married, so that gave me a more kind of normal life. I sort of took a year off then. And then my goal, like I just wanted to sleep in my own bed as much as possible. That was so I was thinking about that. So here's the, and because now I'm getting on the road again, and I stay with a lot of friends. I call it hoboing. So this is the haiku that came out of that thought. My goal then was to sleep in my own bed each night. Now I sleep around. And then I have one more. Oh, the holidays. There are dozens in the world. Happy everything.
I love it.
Yeah, because, it's not just Christmas. It's Christmas, Kwanzaa. Then there's about 17 around this time of year from all over the world.
But I love how you've done them. It's almost like limericks. You take this little short thing, and they have that key last line that's right on target.
Right, I call that the punchline.
It is. That's what it is. We're running out of time. I want to hear one more song. You said you had one.
You want to hear the haiku song or the male brain?
Yeah, I'd love
to.
Oh,
the haiku? Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, the haiku. Okay. Oh, that's right. There's. Haiku poetry's in my blood. Haiku poetry comes from up above. Haiku poetry deep within me. Haiku poetry all around me. Haiku poetry's in my brain. Haiku poetry keeps me fully sane, finding answers in the 575. Haiku poetry keeping me alive. Haiku poetry is energy. It touches upon infinity, and it links me to my divinity. Haiku poetry all around me. Energy is healing. Energy is revealing. Energy's the feeling of spirit everywhere. Energy is strengthening. Energy brings lengthening to all of our sacred moments. Life becomes a prayer. Life becomes a prayer. Haiku energy's in my dreams. Haiku energy tells me what I mean, and sharing secrets that I used to keep. I'm awakening as I sleep. Haiku energy's in my soul. Haiku energy, don't have to lose control. Choices are mine and they're up for grabs. I'm choosing joy and it sure feels fab. Yeah, 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 yeah. Haiku energy's in my bones. Haiku energy won't leave me alone. Haiku poetry deep within me. Haiku poetry is all around me.
When you perform, do you like people singing along?
I love it.
Yeah, because
That's my favorite thing, the band, because I usually work alone, and so the audience is my backup band.
I love singing along, but I'm tempted. I'm listening to you, and it almost like forces me to want to sing. It's just so your stuff is so cool.
Thank you.
The only bad thing about having you on the show tonight, and there is a bad thing, is we're going to have you back a second time. Because we've just scratched about 1/73, of what we can talk about. I mean, especially we won't have time tonight. I want to talk to you about your work in the Beatles ministry, and just what do you see something and you say to yourself, hey, that's kind of cool, and you get involved in it. It seems like you jump into lots of different things whenever it catches your attention.
Now I'm into saving the ancient trees around here because they're cutting them down to put houses. These live oak trees that have been around for hundreds of years.
What
So
a shame.
now I'm on fire for the trees.
In your spare time. Elaine, if folks want to find out more about you, what's the best bet?
Okay, they can go on my website. It's right there. It's right there.
Oh, that's just great. By the way,
somewhere. ElaineSilver.com and then go on. Send me an email. That would be good. My website is really old, but you can find my information. If you want to hire me, you can call me up or you can send me an email, and it's esilver888@aol.com. So.
Okay, and that'll be also the website. You'll have the email
It's
address?
on the website, yeah, and my phone number if they want to call me.
And I want to thank you also for something else too, because you taught me something tonight, and Elaine just did it. First time I've ever seen it, but if you see in the bottom left of the screen, you'll see her website address. And what a great way for people to share their information, with other people. So thank you for sharing that with me. And I will say that I had the pleasure of seeing you perform once in North Jersey. So if you ever, I'm trying to think, have you ever, I saw you in Asheville, I saw you perform.
Yeah, with Richard Shulman, our
Exactly.
friend.
Good friend of mine.
Yes. And that's why I bought places in the Asheville area in case I moved there because of Richard. I bought them there because of him.
And Richard was just a guest on my show, I think, last week.
Isn't he the best?
Yeah, I will give a shout out to Richard, and we'll tell him to listen to the show. But he is the best, but you are too. So hopefully we'll have you come back to Asheville sometime soon, and Cynthia and I will get together with you. We'd really like to do that.
Yes, I would love that. Really, absolutely.
I also saw you one other time. Were you with Barbara Brady, or you were at some church? You were doing a ministry thing, but anyway, I saw you one other time, I think, in Asheville. So hopefully we'll see you in the near future. And thanks for being my guest this first half hour on the BLAINESWORLD show. Contact
and give Cynthia a hug and a kiss for me.
Okay, we'll do, and we'll hopefully bump into each other sometime. Okay, Elaine, you be well. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Namaste.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we're going to see if I can have Elaine disappear, and then we're going to bring in Sarah if I can, there she is. Perfect timing, Sarah. Good job. And give me a second. I just want to do a brief announcement, and then I'm all yours. So before I introduce my second guest today, I should mention, let me just find information about where I want to share with you folks, is that WPVM's mission is to foster community through programming that cultivates dialogue to inform and entertain. The station provides the medium for artists, businesses, community leaders, and nonprofits to share their views on live radio and also on Facebook Live here. Listeners are invited to help support WPVM's efforts by making a tax-deductible contribution. You can do so by going to the website wpvmfm.org and looking on the donate option on the upper right-hand side. My second guest is Sarah Gewanter, and before I give the introduction, Sarah, you can wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world. So if you're watching, that's Sarah. And Sarah is the president and clinical director of the Counseling Center and is a Berard Auditory Integration Training Systems. She's also a hypnotherapist, and we'll talk about that at some other show. But in terms of backgrounds, she is director of this Berard Auditory Integration Training AIT practitioner. Sarah has over 40 years of experience. Sarah, you started at 7? You were the youngest youngest practitioner? Oh, look at that. You're kidding me. But over 40 years of experience as a clinical social worker. She received a graduate degree at Columbia University in 1981. She has been on faculty at Columbia University School of Social Work, and for the past 20 years has been working families with special needs and learning issues. Sarah Gewanter is the clinical director of the Counseling Centers located in the Asheville area of North Carolina. She is an official trainer for the Auditory Integration Training International Practitioners Forum, and she works with people of special ability. She has this special ability, warmth, and sensitivity to children and families with some who come to her for treatment. Sarah is on the board of several community non-for-profit organizations which support the arts and cultural exchanges. And Sarah, the question I have, you grew up where?
I grew up in New York City, in Greenwich Village, in the 1960s was when I was a teenager.
Okay.
So had an unusual background.
And when you grew up in New York City, in Greenwich Village area, did you always know you wanted to be a social worker?
No, not at all.
What?
Well, I would say I always knew I wanted to help people. I always enjoyed whatever I could to help, to assist, to listen. I was the kind of the helper person in my family of origin. And I also had early experience with psychotherapy and found it very helpful for me personally. So it kind of opened my eyes to the world of the mind and being able to, the power that is there when two people come together to just be present with each other, and the healing in that is remarkable. So, and then learning specific techniques, of course. But no, I didn't know in the beginning. I didn't even know what a social worker was. I thought it was like a welfare worker.
Right.
And it wasn't until I guess after, when I went to college, I went to Grinnell College in Iowa, and I became a philosophy major. Of course, they weren't hiring philosophers, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was interested in psychology and sociology and religious studies, philosophy, all sorts of things. And I actually went to see a vocational counselor and took some tests, and they gave me a list of areas that I would do well in, and also pointed out weaknesses, and then talked about where the jobs were. And that really was the first time I learned that as a clinical social worker, I could do psychotherapy. And that in fact, probably 80% of the people who do psychotherapy in this country are social workers or counselors. So then I went on to get my master's at Columbia, which is a great school, and did my internships, and rest is history. I did find that, you know, I learned a lot of the traditional ways of working in talk therapy, but then over the years, I've been exposed to and interested in other ways of working that I find are even more efficient and effective. So hypnosis being one, but also the Berard Auditory Integration Training is a kind of sound and music listening program that helps with all sorts of learning disabilities, neurological issues, speech language issues, auditory like hypersensitivity, or the beginning of hearing loss and tinnitus. So it can help with many different conditions. And I learned about it through my partner's sister, who was a musician and a music teacher. And she learned about it and said, this looks really interesting. And in his side of the family, there are many people who are very bright, very creative, but also have unusual learning styles or ADD and dyslexia that made it difficult to learn in more traditional school methods. And this helps with that. So
Well,
she said, we've got to get this for the family. And
Well,
will
let me
you go
back
get
up.
trained?
Let me just
Sorry.
back up a little bit then.
Yeah.
So I got it that you help people with auditory integration training, but now I want to put you on the spot, kind of the Reader's Digest version of what is auditory integration training.
Absolutely. So what it is a sound and music listening program. So you listen with headphones to recordings that have been played through special electronic equipment that filters and modulates the sound. When you listen for half an hour, twice a day. There are 20 to 26 sessions. So you can actually do it very quickly. And what it does is help the brain reorganize in a new and better way. So after AIT, after the listening process, you find people are able to, well, it depends. If you think of helping with things like speech language, the way we learn to speak is by imitation. So if a person has unusual ways of speaking or stuttering or stammering or speaks, can't hear all the words or parts of words, if you can get the brain and the hearing to hear more clearly and more accurately, then they can pick up what is being said more clearly and accurately and can develop speech language better as well. If you think of how a deaf person speaks, if they can speak, they often speak, but it sounds distorted to us, but that's because that's how they hear sound. So we can make the hearing and the processing more normal, more accurate, then it helps develop better speech language.
Fascinating
So
stuff.
I've had a lot of kids like with autism spectrum who have either no language or very limited speech language. And I've had several kids who started to speak within a couple of weeks of finishing this AIT.
Yeah, fascinating concept, and hopefully we won't lose you a little bit. We're frozen for just a second, so I'll kind of talk as we try to get Sarah back. But the concept of AIT, you mentioned Sarah, and
the impact it can have.
Yeah, we got you back. Hold on one second.
Oh,
I think we
froze a bit.
We got you
Yeah.
back. But anyway, fascinating concept. So I still don't quite understand it. So somebody would come in to work with you, and you have them listen to these series of 26 tapes or 20?
20 to 26, depending on their condition.
Got you. And they would listen to it. And so how does it then tie into somebody who has autism? Like, what does listening to it do for them?
Well, they find that about 40% at least of people on the autism spectrum have hypersensitivity to sound. They may also have sensitivity to other taste, touch, smell, any of the senses. So when they listen to the program, it's usually using sound and vibration to stimulate new neural pathways in the brain. So for example, with autism spectrum, the people who are hypersensitive to sound, after the AIT, can tolerate sounds much better. So they don't go around with their hands on their ears, or they don't run away from things because they're overloaded. Their senses are more normalized and more balanced, so they can handle situations that are loud. Like if you see a lot of autistic kids, if they're out in a shopping mall or a restaurant, they're sitting there rocking or flapping or turning because they're overloaded. Their senses are overstimulated. If we can help get their senses more normalized and eased up, then they become calmer, more relaxed, able to focus better, etc. Same thing with ADHD, attention deficit disorder. A lot of the people that have that, now some of them, it's a biochemical issue and medication may be needed, but many of them, if you ask, are also hypersensitive. So if you're an example, if you're trying to be in a classroom listening to a teacher speak, but you hear the sounds, all the stray background noises, somebody shuffling paper, somebody shuffling their feet on the floor, the fluorescent lights buzzing, makes it much harder to focus and concentrate.
Well, you know, as
We
you said,
can
yeah.
get the
I'm sorry, no,
hearing more normal.
I was going to say, because what
Yeah.
I find so interesting about this is, as you said earlier, it also ties in then, I guess, to people with just ordinary hearing loss, because
Right.
I hear the same thing too from people that it's when they go to a restaurant, it's almost like upsetting, you know, not just they get upset by it, and so this AIT can help those folks as well.
It depends. If the hearing is too far gone,
Sure.
then you can't help with that. However, if it's beginning to go, and you know, very typically they say as people age, we tend to lose our hearing in the higher pitches first.
Right.
Well, higher pitches, it doesn't matter so much, but when it starts moving into the realm of speech and you miss what people are saying, or you have difficulty distinguishing foreground sound from background sound, that's what happens in restaurants. Or people have hearing aid, used to be the hearing aids would amplify everything. And a person might not need amplification on all frequencies. They might just need it on 2 or 3 frequencies. Well, now, fortunately, they have hearing aids that you can adjust to the different frequencies. But it's still difficult for people to hear easily. And especially when there's competing background noise, like in a restaurant. So oftentimes when people have those issues, they just tune out, they stop listening. And it's frustrating for them. It's frustrating for family or friends because it's hard to communicate.
Is there a certain age that people should get into this, or is there on the
We
low?
work with children starting age 3. And I have worked with adults into their 75, 80 years old. In fact, I had a woman once, she was a nun, and she came to me for other issues, but she had severe hearing loss. She wore hearing aids. And she had particular hard time hearing, like in a meeting when there would be more
Sure.
than one person speaking at a time, or when she would have to go and get the voicemail messages. she'd have to play them over and over and over again because she couldn't pick it up quickly and clearly. So I talked to her about the AIT program. I said, I'm not sure if it would help, but if you'd like, we can give it a try. And as I understand, it's not going to fix your hearing loss, but it can help you hear more clearly and more accurately. So she was interested to do it. And sure enough, she said after AIT, she still needed hearing aids, but she didn't have to keep playing the messages over and over again. She could get it the first time. If she was in a meeting and more than one person talking at a time, she could tune in or tune out to what she needed to. So that was great.
I mean, it must be very exciting, not only with the story, the woman you just mentioned, but especially when you see it with a kid, that to see a kid who's had problems in school, I guess not improperly diagnosed, but just nobody's been able to help him or her. And all of a sudden they go through this training and you see change.
Yep, that's right. In fact, I had a kid the other week who did the program about a month ago, and the mom said he's now on grade level.
Wow.
And before he was like 3 grades behind. So that's significant. Very pleased. I mean, he's doing great.
Now, with this kid as an example, describe the process. So they contact you, and we'll talk about how to contact you in just a second. And you go through these series of tapes. Do they have to come to your office, or can they be done at home?
Great question. And first I'll show you my brochure.
Okay.
Because it has a nice logo, and it also has the website.
By the way, we'll just jump in since you're ahead of me. Share that information, Sarah. So if people, first of all, are interested in finding out more about AIT, best bet, contact Sarah. And what would you say, on the website, Sarah, or email you?
Well, they can contact me at info@aithelps.com. I don't know if you can see it too well there, but
Yeah, we go. Okay, let me just repeat it. I'll say it, www.aithelps.com. Got it?
Yes,
okay.
And it's on my name on the screen down below as well.
Oh, okay, great.
It's aithelps.com.
So the first thing they should do, by the way, just check out this information.
Take a look on the website. There's a lot of good information there. They can also, please do call me. The office number is local 828-683-6900. But I also welcome you to call my cell phone, which is 203-803-0609. Easiest way to get me that way.
And we'll ask you, by the way, at the end of the show, we'll ask you to repeat that information.
I will.
So,
and then info@aithelps.com. And do just, feel free to contact me. Send me your email. I can send you other information. We do offer the program not only in the office, but as a home-based program. So all a person needs, it's like a rental program. All you need is a CD player. And then I provide headphones, discs, instructions, and all my phone numbers. So if there's any question along the way, you can always reach me to help supervise and monitor. I also, as a first step, I do an evaluation to see if it's going to be helpful for the person. And then I use the evaluation and a hearing test to individualize the program. So it's made specifically for each person's hearing. And then as they go along and after, we do other follow-up evaluations to see if we need to change the program protocol, to see if they need more program down the road, that kind of thing. And it's sort of become a mission because I have seen such wonderful changes. So we offer payment plans, scholarship funds. We try to make it work. If somebody needs it, I can usually figure out a way to make it work for them.
So I'm trying to understand the process. I think I'm getting it. So the first thing, go to the website, read up about it, find out more information, get in touch with you. They then get this series of tapes. And then after the series of tapes, is there something that happens afterward, or do they meet with you, or virtually, or in
Actually,
person?
the one thing that they need to, there are some things that, so once they've done the program, sometimes people see improvement very quickly, even within the 10 days or 2 weeks of doing the program. Some people and some issues take longer. So we tell people you'll see the majority of change within the first 2 to 3 months after doing the program. So we stop for 2 months, and then I have people go get another hearing test. We reevaluate and see if they need anything else. There'll be continued change and improvement even 6 months to a year after they've finished the 20 sessions or 26 sessions. So we want to wait and see the full range of change before we consider doing another go round. Some people need more, some people don't. And then the things that they really need to do is sometimes it's helpful to listen to classical music after AIT, not with headphones, but just in the background, because classical music like Mozart, Beethoven is very soothing and organizing for the brain. So what the AIT does is it essentially, using sound vibration, stimulates new neural pathways in the brain. It reorganizes the way the brain is processing information. After you finish the AIT, normal sounds become therapeutic as the brain continues to process and reorganize. So when you listen to the music, the AIT sound, it sounds like music, but with different frequencies. It goes high, low, loud, soft, clicks, metallic sounds. It breaks up the pattern of sound. It was interesting. It was based on some of the work of neuroscientists who were studying brain function. They had the idea that our brains are always trying to make sense of the world the best they can, given the sensory information we receive. Once we get that information, we tend to go in patterns until or unless we get new and different information. So the way they studied this was they put on glasses, lenses, that made everything look upside down. And sure enough, after wearing these lenses for about a week or so, the brain reorganized and made everything look right side up. So Dr. Berard, who was an ear, nose, throat doctor and having hearing issues, said, wow, well, that's interesting. If it works for vision, what about the hearing? So he took music and sound. Now, up to this point, music therapy and most of the auditory therapies you'll find out there had more to do with psychological, emotional. You know, listen to something, it'll help soothe you and calm you, or listen to something to elicit an emotion. He said, no, I want this music and sound to be like exercise for the ears, to be able to reorganize the way the brain is processing information. So he used some electronic equipment. In fact, I'll play you a little bit if you'd like to hear.
Yeah. And by the way, when did this come into play, Sarah?
Oh, gosh. He started this in the... I was trained in it in 1994. And I believe he had been starting it in the 80s.
Okay, so it's still
been around a long time, but more well known in France than in America. So I'll play you a bit.
Very cool.
And you'll hear, this is Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh, okay. I love Gordon
But
Lightfoot.
it sounds distorted, but that's the therapy. Can you hear it? So you hear the distortion.
I did, yeah. And that was
And
intentional?
you listen with headphones, and especially if people have a speech language issue, we give a little more volume in the right ear, a little less volume in the left ear to strengthen and stimulate the left brain functions. And that helps speech language development.
How long are the each of the 30 units, or 20 units, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, say that.
How long are the 20 units, each one?
Each is a half an hour, 30 minutes of listening. And you need a minimum of 3 hours in between. So people would do one in the morning and one in the afternoon or the evening, and then just do them every day for 10 days. Or some people we do with auditory processing disorder, we do a little longer program, 13 days. Then they stop for 2 months. Now, one thing we find is interesting, if you listen to regular music with headphones after the AIT, it will tend to undo the benefit you get from the program. So we warn people, please don't listen to regular music with regular headphones. It's going to undo it, and then you have to do it over again. So there are some new kinds of headphones now that people can use, open back headphones and ear clips. So it allows air between the ear and the speaker. And the air is what baffles the sound and protects the ear and the auditory process.
Do people ever repeat the process, meaning I go through in 10 days?
So the first step is look at the website. There's an evaluation form on the website. You can fill that in right there. Then you schedule with me an evaluation by phone or Skype or Zoom, whatever. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour. And then I use that to determine if someone's a good candidate for the program and also to individualize the program for them. So I use the evaluation, and I also have people go to a local audiologist, and I give instructions about that. We get a hearing test, and then I can design the program based on their hearing. Then we also have that evidence-based so that you can then take a hearing test later on and see the difference on the graph itself, as well as with behavior and auditory issues. And then once we've done that evaluation, if they want to do the home program, all they need is a CD player. I ship the equipment out to them. I give them this 20 different CDs, plus headphones, plus instructions, and they get my cell phone so they can call me. They can come into the office also, but I find now, it used to be you could only do it in the office, but about 10, 15 years ago, the technology improved and we were able to make a home program available. And that's so much easier for kids and parents, families, whatever, especially now with COVID. So it's great to be able to do the home program. And then when they're done, they just ship everything back. And then we reevaluate. I include follow-up evaluations.
Sarah, one last time, if you can, if folks want to get in touch with you or your office, best bet is to do what?
Yes, the phone number easiest to reach me is my cell phone, 203-803-0609, or email info@AIT-helps. HEL as in Larry, P as in Paul, S as in Sam.com.
And the best thing, you can see it on the screen at the very bottom if you're watching on Facebook. Sarah,
yes.
we're up against the clock. I'd like to thank you for being my guest this second half hour of the Blaine's World Show. Also, Reverend Faerie, Elaine Silver, for being my guest the first half hour. Amy Prisnash, my producer. We hope to see you next Wednesday here at 9 a.m. here on WPVM 103.7, and look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, folks. Thanks, Sarah.